Against the backdrop of the intense confrontation between the United States and China, in what direction will the Chinese Air Force ultimately develop? Today, let's conduct a detailed analysis of this. In fact, in my opinion, it mainly depends on how the United States makes its military arrangements. In the Asia-Pacific region, the two most important military bases of the United States are one in Okinawa and the other in Guam. Back in 2005, the United States once carried out a military simulation exercise. In this exercise, it assumed a conflict with China in the Pacific Ocean. Then, the United States quickly assembled 5 nuclear-powered aircraft carriers and, with lightning speed, rushed towards China in an attempt to encircle and blockade it. After that, China launched a large number of anti-ship missiles at the United States, carrying out a saturation attack. It should be noted that a saturation attack is definitely the approach of the weaker side, and it is also one of the most effective ways to counter aircraft carriers. Just look at the Houthi armed forces and you'll understand. So, the United States lost several warships at sea, which forced it to change its combat strategy. Originally, the United States had planned to use aircraft carriers to launch attacks on China's coastal land areas. However, to its surprise, it was repelled by China's anti-ship missiles. Since the Navy's approach didn't work, the United States turned to its Air Force. Subsequently, the United States quickly launched 5 B-2 bombers from Guam and a large number of F-22 stealth fighter jets from Okinawa. Hoping to take advantage of their stealth capabilities, the United States intended to carry out indiscriminate attacks on China's coastal cities until China surrendered and negotiations began. The plan was to bomb China to the point where it could no longer bear it, and then the two sides would negotiate to end the war. This was a military simulation exercise conducted by the United States in 2005. In this exercise, the B-2 and F-22 enabled the United States to defeat China. Therefore, at that time, China drew an inspiration from the United States military simulation. That is, to counter the United States stealth technology with its own stealth technology. Since the United States had stealth fighter jets, China also had to have them. Then, if you look back at the development history of the military armaments of the United States and China. When did China's J-20 come out? It was in 2011, right? And when was the project initiated? It was in 2005. See it now, back in 2005, in my opinion, the development concept of China's Air Force was to counter stealth with stealth. If the United States dared to bomb China's coastal areas, then China would bomb Okinawa, right? But why didn't we say we would bomb Guam? It's very simple. It's too far away. If the J-20 were to fly to Guam and then fly back, it would need a range of at least 6,000 kilometers, right? With a range of 6,000 kilometers, it wouldn't be a fighter jet anymore. That would be the job of a bomber. However, at that time in 2005, given China's technological level at that time, in my view, it was impossible to build a stealth bomber. So, the capability to bomb Guam was left to long-range missiles. Later, in 2016, the United States carried out another very bold military simulation exercise targeting China. The United States assumed that the Chinese fleet had broken through the second island chain and clashed with aircraft carriers in the deep waters of the Pacific Ocean. It should be noted that the previous simulation exercise took place in the first island chain, and this time it was directly about breaking through the second island chain. The concept of these island chains refers to the encirclement formed by the United States in cooperation with various countries and regions in the Asia-Pacific against China. I believe those who pay attention to the international situation are already familiar with this, so I won't elaborate on it here. The United States quickly launched 6 B-2 bombers from Guam. Then, under the coordination and command of early warning aircraft, it launched a fierce attack on the Chinese fleet, using large air-launched anti-ship missiles for precise strikes. So, have you noticed anything unusual? The location of Guam is of great importance to the United States. It can serve as a frontline fortress to strike China's coastal areas and also target the Chinese naval fleet in the Pacific Ocean. Therefore, it is obvious that Guam is the target that China needs to deal with, right? So, I believe that the future development of China's Air Force will revolve around the direction of how to strike Guam. For example, extending the range of fighter jets, developing long-range fighter jets, equipping them with long-range missiles, developing airborne tankers, and reclaiming land to build military bases. Right? As long as China has the ability to carry out a precise bombing, then the United States definitely wouldn't dare to take action. So, you see, during the South China Sea arbitration case back then, the United States assembled hundreds of warships, intend to take action against the China, but in the end, it gave up, because the military simulation showed that the losses would be extremely heavy. It's not like in the Middle East now. The United States has deployed B-2 bombers at the Diego Garcia base in the middle of the Indian Ocean. These bombers are capable of striking Iran, but Iran can't reach this base with its attacks. This is a real deterrence. It's like saying, will you negotiate? If you don't, I'll launch an attack. However, does Guam still have that kind of deterrent power against China now? What's your opinion on this? You might as well share it in the comment section.